20,000. That is the number of short-haul flights Lufthansa has cut as soaring fuel prices make entire routes unprofitable. This is not a standalone event. It is a direct consequence of a new form of warfare, one first seen in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, where energy infrastructure became a primary target. That conflict established a modern playbook. To cripple a nation, you strike its energy supply. Tonight, we are tracking a pattern suggesting that playbook has gone global. Within a remarkably short period, an oil refinery exploded in one country and a gas pipeline caught fire in another. An energy terminal was damaged in a location far from any declared conflict zone. From Iran to the United States, India to Pakistan, and even Russia itself, the locations are different, but the patterns are disturbingly similar. Fires, explosions, and sudden production disruptions. The unavoidable question tonight: are these purely accidents, or are we witnessing the opening moves in a darker, global game? Viewed in isolation, the incidents appear random. On April 16, 2026, a gas pipeline in Haripur, Pakistan, exploded. On that same day, the Geelong refinery in Australia, one of only two remaining in the entire country, was engulfed in flames, immediately slashing fuel production capacity amid an already tense global market. The vulnerability of a nation like Australia, with only two refineries, highlights a critical strategic weakness in developed economies that have offshored industrial capacity. Unlike major oil-producing states, their energy security is incredibly fragile, making a single incident like this one disproportionately damaging to their national stability and economy. In India, just one day before a major inauguration by the Prime Minister, a massive oil refinery in Rajasthan burned fiercely. Meanwhile, in Mexico, a major fire was also reported at the Dos Bocas refinery. In Myanmar, more than 10 fuel tanker trucks were destroyed after a large explosion at a port in the Sagaing region. The series of events did not stop there. In Bucharest, Romania, a power plant experienced a major transformer explosion involving tens of tons of oil, adding to the long list of energy incidents in a short period. And in the midst of this, open conflicts are complicating the picture. We have reports of a large-scale drone attack targeting an oil depot in Tuapse, Russia, which set dozens of storage tanks on fire. Connecting these events reveals one critical commonality. They all target crucial points with immediate ripple effects. An exploding gas pipeline cuts off supply. A burning refinery reduces production. An attacked depot disrupts distribution. A damaged power plant hits the downstream supply chain. In a globally interconnected energy system, a small disruption at a single point can trigger a chain reaction. Price hikes, market panic, and immense pressure on energy importing nations. This raises a new, urgent question. If this pattern is real, have energy facilities now become the new front line? In the past, strategic targets were clear: military bases, major cities, or government centers. Now energy facilities may be just as important. Striking oil refineries, gas pipelines, storage depots, or export ports not only damages infrastructure, but also cripples a nation's logistics, economy, and its ability to conduct combat operations. Energy is the foundation. Without fuel, the war machine cannot move. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine is the clearest example of how this energy warfare is conducted. Attacks on Russian oil facilities, including depots and refineries, show that the primary targets are no longer just military, but the very resources that sustain the state. This marks a strategic shift, striking the supply to weaken the opponent from within. A similar pattern is also seen in the Gulf region. Around 80 energy facilities have reportedly been damaged during the war there. The figure of 80 facilities is less notable for its scale than for the specific types of infrastructure targeted. Historically, attacks focused on production wells to deny revenue. This modern strategy of hitting refineries and depots suggests a more sophisticated goal: to cripple an entire society's logistical and military capacity, not just its finances. And when oil fields, refineries, and export terminals are disrupted, the impact spreads immediately. Not only does production fall, but the global market reacts. Prices rise, distribution is disrupted, and uncertainty increases. Furthermore, energy distribution routes have become the most sensitive points. The Strait of Hormuz is one example. A significant portion of the world's oil passes through this route, and tensions between the United States and Iran alone are enough to shake the market. Now, attention is turning to the Strait of Malacca. This route is vital, especially for China, as about 70 to 80% of its oil imports pass through this area. And this is where geopolitical speculation arises. If pressure or disruption occurs on this route, the impact could directly hit China's energy security. The United States is said to be trying to use the Strait of Malacca as a pressure tool against China. This is where speculation begins to grow. Could pressure on these energy routes be part of a geopolitical strategy? If so, what we are seeing now are not just incidents, but part of something much larger. This leads to the most crucial question. What is the real cause of all this? There are two main possibilities. The first is accidental factors. Much of the world's energy infrastructure is aging and operates under high pressure. Refineries, gas pipelines, and power plants are often forced to operate near their capacity limits due to high demand. Under these conditions, the risk of technical failure increases, ranging from leaks and overheating to explosions. Human error also remains a classic factor, especially in complex systems requiring strict oversight. Additionally, extreme weather such as heat waves, storms, or floods can accelerate deterioration and trigger unexpected incidents. But on the other hand, there is a more sensitive possibility: sabotage. In a heated geopolitical climate, energy infrastructure is a very efficient target. Attacks do not always have to be overt. They can be carried out via drones, cyber attacks, or covert operations that are difficult to trace. The impact remains the same: supply disruptions and economic pressure. The expanding scope of global conflicts also increases the incentive for such actions. Disrupting an opponent's energy means weakening multiple sectors at once without a direct confrontation on the battlefield. It is important, however, not to jump to a single conclusion. It is possible that some incidents are purely accidental, while others are related to conflict or sabotage. In a complex and interconnected global energy system, a single cause is often too simplistic. What is clear is that the impact is already being felt, and its scale is not small. One of the main effects is the disruption of the supply chain. When the flow of energy from Central Asia is choked, the impact immediately spreads to Europe. Russia, for example, suspended oil shipments from Kazakhstan to Germany via the Druzhba pipeline starting in May. This decision immediately triggered market concerns and tightened supply. The reaction was swift. Energy prices rose, the market became unstable, and the industrial sector began to suffer. In the aviation sector, as we reported, Lufthansa cut approximately 20,000 short-haul flights because the surge in fuel prices made many routes unprofitable. This move by a major airline is a critical leading indicator of a broader economic contraction. Airlines operate on thin margins and are often the first to react to severe cost shocks. This is not just about travel inconvenience. It signals that major corporations are now pricing in a sustained period of energy instability. Other airlines like Air France, KLM, and Delta Airlines also began reducing flight frequencies and raising ticket prices. This increase did not happen in a vacuum. Tensions involving the United States, Israel, and Iran have also disrupted energy production and distribution in the Middle East. Furthermore, this situation presents an even greater threat: a global recession. High energy prices drive inflation, suppress purchasing power, and increase production costs. Companies are beginning to slow down their activities, while consumers are holding back on spending. If this pressure continues, it is not impossible that the world will face a simultaneous economic slowdown. This brings us to the most sensitive question. If global stability is being disrupted, who actually benefits? The answer is not simple. What is clear is that the world is beginning to show signs of disruption. Fires and explosions at various energy facilities, from refineries and pipelines to storage depots, not only damage physical infrastructure, but also shake the sense of security regarding global energy supplies. In a system that is highly dependent on a stable flow of energy, disruptions at just a few points are enough to create a domino effect. Prices rise, distribution is disrupted, and uncertainty spreads to various economic sectors. When these vital points are disrupted almost simultaneously, the world faces not only the risk of an energy crisis, but also mounting geopolitical pressure. Importing nations become more vulnerable, while producing nations are in a dilemmatic position: maintain stability or seize the moment. The market itself moves quickly. Even before the physical impact is fully felt, a reaction has already occurred. Fear often moves faster than reality. In the midst of this situation, a larger question emerges. Who benefits the most? Is it the nations with large energy reserves, the parties capable of rerouting distribution, or the actors playing behind the scenes of uncertainty? There is no single answer. But one thing is certain: when energy is disrupted, the global balance of power shifts with it. And in chaos like this, there are always parties ready to take advantage.